Good day, everyone. Before I start, I am Roland G. Garong from BIT to the FSMB and a 21-year-old student currently live in Pinugay, Baras, Rizal. Okay, so the topic I choose to be discussed is the punishment and death penalty. So let's discuss what exactly is a punishment and death penalty really is, and whether it is good for our society or it has a bad effect. So first, what is death penalty or capital punishment? It is defined as the infliction of death as a punishment for breaking criminal law. Death penalty is usually applied for crimes that are considered especially horrible, such as murder, but also used in cases of treason and large scale of drug trafficking. What is the main point of death penalty? On one hand, capital punishment is often defended on the grounds that society has a moral obligation to protect the safety and welfare of its citizens, only putting murderers to death so that society ensure that convicted killers do not kill again. But on the other hand, they said it is cruel, inhuman, and degra- degrading punishment. The death penalty is discriminatory. It is often used against the most vulnerable in society, including the poor ethnic and religious minorities, and also people with mental disabilities. Okay. So there are so many arguments have been presented by both supporters and opponents of the death penalty. Supporters contend that the, the death penalty is an appropriate punishment for certain crimes, and opponents contend that is cruel and unusual punishment. The violence, the violates human rights. These are some example of pros and cons of punishment and death penalty. Okay, so I go first to the death penalty pros. Okay, one, um, it deters criminals from committing serious crimes. Common sense tell us that the most frightening thing for human being is to lose their life. Therefore, the death penalty is the best deterrent when it comes to discouraging people from carrying out the worst crimes. And the second, without the death penalty, some criminal would continue to commit crimes. It deters prisoners who are already serving life sentences in jail for committing more serious offenses. So, number three, it is a cost-effective solution. The idea put forward by abolitionists that someone that imprisoned them for life is simply not true, and there is plenty of evidence to show this. Lastly, number four, retribution is not the same as revenge. Retribution is a necessary part of the punishment process. Without it, the friends and families of the victims, as well as the public in general, would not feel that justice had been reserved. So, that's the four um, examples of pros of death penalty. So, we're gonna go to the death penalty cons. So, the first one is it is a cruel and unusual punishment where basic standards of human dignity are compromised or undetermined. Number two, it continues the cycle of violence. Retribution is just another word for revenge. So, ano nga ba yung totoong katotohanan ng retribution, it is revenge or not. It is essentially a form of the flow thinking that two wrongs can make right. The pro-death penalty argument is that killing people is wrong, and therefore you should kill people for killing, which make nonsense. So they have, I think they have right to say that. Okay, number 3. The justice system is bound to make mistakes. People who are wrongly imprisoned rather, can be released from prison and given compensation, but wrongful execution can be can never be right. The lastly one is there are strong religious arguments against the death penalty. Life sacred and God-given divine judgment comes in the afterlife. Okay, so those are the examples of pros and cons in death penalty arguments. So let's go to a quick trivia about the history of death penalty in the Philippines. Okay, let's go. On February 5, 1999, Leo Echegaray became the first to die by lethal injection. Since the death penalty was reinstated in 1993, the death penalty was popular from the death penalty was a popular form of punishment during the Spanish period. Who could forget the execution of Mariano Gomez Jose Burgos and Jacinto Zamora, in short, the Gomborza. So, Sugarot in 1882 rather, or the death of Jose Rizal by firing squad in 1896. After the American took over, execution through garrote were replaced with hanging and then the electric chair. Few capital punishment stories throughout history have been told. So here are some interesting historical tidbits on the death penalty in modern times. Okay. In 1920s, Francisco Otero of Bacolod was convicted of hiring two men to murder a love interest and a business rival. Otero paid 5 pesos to each man and promised both a job after the murder. According to the law, then the members of the Supreme Court must vote anonymously to execute anyone, and as they were unable to reach a unified vote, Otero's sentence was committed to life imprisonment. The two men who did the killings were sentenced to life imprisonment and 8 years respectively. So, parang useless yung death penalty. Kasi nga, 'di ba? Nag-utos lang yung tao, pero ang hinatulan ng death penalty is yung nag-utos, hindi yung pumatay. So, what's the point of the death penalty? Dapat when you say death penalty, kung sino yung pumatay, yun din yung papatayin. 'Di ba parang ganon siya? Kung sino yung gumawa sa iyo at ano yung ginawa sa iyo, yun din yung gagawin mo. But that's my own opinion lang. So we go in the Marcos era. In the Marcos era, continue to fascinate people today. The first was the triple deaths by electrical chair of Jaime J. Jose, Basilio Pineda Jr. and Edgardo P. Aquino in 1970. For the abduction and rape of actress Maggie de la Wright, another man, Rogelio Sevilla Cañal, died of drug overdose. 2 years before their scheduled execution, all four had promising futures and were sons of prominent families. despite their families appealed the execution pushed through as public opinion was in favor of their deaths. Despite this, there were few execution over various administration. When Corazon na yung naging president, ito na yung part niya. Sorry. When Corazon C. Aquino became president, the death penalty was abolished. Tinanggal siya, hindi siya isinabatas. It was reinstated in 1983 during the term of President Fidel Ramos. At binalik din siya sa batas noong 1993 sa pamamahala ni President Fidel Ramos, but abolished again in 2006 during Gloria Macapagal Arroyo's term. So, pagdating din ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, ibinalik din yung batas na death penalty. So, commuting 1,230 death sentence to life imprisonment. Mahigit 1,000 ang hinatulan ng tawag dyan, mahigit 1,000 ang pinatulan na mabilanggo, mamatay na sa loob ng bilangguan, parang ganun. So, the death penalty remains a hot button topic in the Philippines. While it has about its supporters and its critics, history teaches as that plain human error, libertine bureaucracy, and unequal access to quality representation could tip the scales of justice either way. So, meron din pa rin naman yan sa history na, yun nga, lalong-lalo na sa Gumborza, yung pinatawon sila ng kamatayan na parang hindi naman nila ginawa. So, wala gaanong justice, hindi nabibigyan ng hustisya. So, here we go. Okay. So, if you read and study the past judgment, so, may opinion ko na to. So, if you read and study the past judgment of fellow human beings, their laws are not really humane. Di ba? Parang hindi siya makatao. Kung ikaw yung nasa sitwasyon na ganun, parang hindi mo kayang tanggapin na papatawan ka ng kamatayan tapos wala ka namang ginawang kasalanan. Parang magdurusa ka sa kasalanang hindi mo ginawa, ganun. So, I continue. Considering that, usually, the person who has no sin sentenced to death. Wala kang kasalanan, pero papatawan ka ng kamatayan. Ganun yun. And aside from that, they have no proof that a person is really guilty, because for them, it is easy to kill other people just being as they are guilty. That's how useless the law and rotten management are when it comes to the death penalty law. Okay. So, in recent years, during time of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, the war on drugs making noise, right? Alam niyo naman siguro yun. So, when Duterte is leading the country, there's a lot of controversy about drugs. And the fact is, it's like the death penalty being as there's a lot of people died in his term. Yes, I admit namin ko na he is a good president who governs our country because he encourages the removal of the people who are addicted on drugs. In our country. So, isa siya magaling na pangulo kasi pinatunayan niya na kaya niyang walain yung mga drug lord na lumalaganap sa ating bansa. Pero para sa akin, hindi rin yun gaano nakakabuti kasi maraming tao ang nadadamay, mga inosente. kahit hindi sila nagda-drugs, parang yun sa tinatawag na mistaken identity, yun, mistaken identity. Yes, okay, sige. I continue. Yes, his platforms are good, but in taking someone's life, it is really good. It is really good. Tanong yun tama ba yun? Yung papatay ka ng ibang tao? Para sa akin, hindi. Probably not. Yes, I agree with this management. But I disagree with the killing of people. Oo, sangayon ako sa pamamahala niya, pero yung pagpatay ng maraming tao dahil lang sa droga, parang hindi pasok sa pananaw ko, hindi pasok sa pananaw ko. Okay, so considering that, you know that many innocent people are affected in such situation, because that's why there's a law to regulating the action. If a person is really make crimes, and death is not a solution to clean a country like the Philippines, especially talaga Philippines. Kasi yan din tayo So, there are so many ways to do it. If their solution is killing, then the thinking will be narrow with the management is like that. Kasi hindi naman talaga solusyon ng pagpatay para matigil ang ganyang pamamaraan. Maraming paraan na pwedeng mong gawin para maitigil yan, pero sa pagpatay, hindi. Kasi ikaw lang din ang pumapatay sa kapwa mo Pilipino. Okay, so move na tayo sa in current situation right now sa 2023 na. So, in 2023, the death penalty has not been approved. The sentence in the Senator of the Philippines. There have several bills filed in Senate that would reimpose the death penalty, but none of them have been passed. The most recent bill is Senate Bill number 2217 was filed by Senator Robin Padilla in May 2023. Fast few months ago lang. But now, there is not too much problem about death penalty. So ngayon wala na siya hindi mo na maririnig kaya dati na may mga taong pinapatay talaga na hinahatawan talaga ng death penalty. Ngayon, minsan na lang. Okay, I continue. And hopefully, this kind of problem will disappear forever. Diba? Kahit sino naman nangangarap na wala nang gantong uri ng problema, kasi nakakaawa yung tignan yung mga taong nagdurusa sa hindi nila kasalanan. So, and if it happens to be a loaders again, please talk about having good method to impose justice. Considering that, now there are news of people being killed just like so on social media, who were just put on a bus and shot. Yung nag-viral sa social media, yung nakaka-traumatized na pangyayari, yung pumasok lang yung mga armado sa isang bus tapos may pinagbabaril sa loob. Yun. So, who were just put sorry. Those kinds of problems, I hope justice will be given to them. And sana mabigyan ng hustisya ang ganyong problema, kasi ang hirap, 'di ba? Kunyari, pamilya mo yung na ganun, wala kang wala kang kamalay-malay na ganoon na pala yung nangyari sa yung pamilya, na bumiyahe lang pero pinatay lang sa loob ng bus. 'Di ba, parang pakinggan. Pero sana naman bago nila patayin, may tawag dyan, may patunay sila na bakit kailangan patayin. Pero hindi rin pagpatay ang solusyon talaga. Yan yun And I ask here randomly if if they were accordance with the death penalty law. Others say no. No need to retaliate for what was done to you. There is saying that if a stone is thrown at you, then throw it back with a bread. Diba? Yun yung kasabihan eh. Diba? Lagi natin naririnig yan. So, which is really true naman siya, diba? To the people with good manners and generous to others. But, the answer of others is that they agree of the penalty. Being as it is said to teach lesson to person who has bad intention and the person with bad deeds. In order for the people to be peaceful, it is necessary to make people afraid committing crimes. So, wala eh, opinion nila yun eh, wala tayong magagawa. Kasi we have our own opinion and point of views, di ba? Kaya magbigayan na lang tayo ng respect sa opinions ng ibang tao at saka sa opinions din natin. So, personally, para sa akin, I also do not agree with the death penalty. I do not agree. Yes. First of all, the death penalty, in my view, is too much sentence. Kasi yung death penalty sa pananaw ko, parang, oo, paghahatol siya, pero parang sobra na eh. Parang sobra eh, parang hindi makatao. Ganun yung pananaw ko. Sa akin lang naman. Because you can judge a sinful person, but hopefully, not a dead manner. Considering that, I believe that all people make mistakes, and also sinners, and above all, they are still people who can change. Diba? Marami pang tao ang kayang magbago sa sarili nila. So, hindi ba pwedeng bigyan natin sila ng chance, ganun, para may panahon pa sila para magbago. Ganun para sa akin. Yes, makukulong sila. Okay, go. Yes, they can be jailed to teach them a lesson for what they did, but that will not be a lesson, but is a routine method. Ang pagpatay, hindi yan, walang matututo sa pagpatay. Hindi nakaka-gain ng knowledge ang pagpatay. So, but just my opinion. I know that we all have our own opinion and views. And I hope you respect my point of view, but if you don't want to, it's okay, I understand. Because your thinking is twisted. The only solution I can give, siguro ang masasuggest ko lang for now dito sa bansa natin, sa pagdating sa death penalty, the solution I can give is to not have the death penalty. Why? Okay, I can explain. So, because what I'm talking about is that there are so many people who died being as they become victims. Diba? Ang daming taong hindi nabibigyan ng hustisya. Ang dami. So, many people were not given justice and they were killed and treated like animals. So, if you are in a situation like that, suppose you are accused of using drugs and you are going to sentence to death penalty, or you going to be killed all of a sudden, are you willing to do that? Diba? Napagkamalan ka lang, may kamukha ka lang, tapos napagkamalan na ka na ikaw yung drug lord, papatayin ka para sa'yo, katanggap-tanggap ba yun na idea, diba? Para hindi talaga eh, hindi. Maybe you have a mind, probably not. And the only problem is that our society, there is no sensible management like the law. And the law of the Philippines is very rotten. Totoo. Maniwala kayo sa hindi. Totoo. Sobra. It really hurts to hear that. Masakit talaga ang katotohanan, guys. Because even if other people are dead, if you are rich, will be free immediately. Kung nakapatay ka na isang tao, tapos mayaman ka, mabilis ka lang makakalaya. Meron nga sa kulungan na tumatakbo pa sa tumatakbo pa sa um tumatakbo pa sa election di ba? Pag mayaman ka. So, is the law like that? But if you are poor, you will be killed immediately. You know that only Filipinos kill Filipinos. If there is a death penalty again, I hope they fix their management, because it is pitiful to see a person suffering for a sin she did not commit. And in the end, I wish there was no law. I'm sorry, rather. And in the end, I wish there was no law like that, because we are only human beings, and I hope we can unite and spread love to other people. So, kahit anong mangyari, hindi ako agree sa death penalty talaga. So, that's all. And here, I will end my discussion to the topic I choose, the punishment and death penalty, and I hope you learn something from what I'm talking about. At sana, ang tawag dyan, ano na yung issue na yan sa death penalty, para wala nang gulo at the society is malaya, peaceful, and love. Yun lang. That's all, and thank you.